Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's 11th of November 2021. Right, everyone, let's get into it. So, David Mihal, known for his CryptoFees website that I've talked about a lot on the Refuel before, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen me post screenshots of it on Twitter, has updated both the CryptoFees.info website and the OpenOrgs.info website to now track ENS. So, if you go to CryptoFees.info, you can see the Ethereum name service is actually generating a lot of fees. And these are fees basically paid to the ENS service when someone registers a new ENS name, right? And this is actually related to Brantley here putting out a tweet saying that there was 7,000 new .eth names registered just yesterday, all on ETH L1 with the high gas fees. The previous one-day record was 3K. Now, he does note in this Twitter thread that there's no ENS. They're getting airdropped to people that are registering names now. The snapshot was taken on the 31st of October. But I think that what the kind of like token did was that it just, what's the way to put it? It kind of like increased awareness like much faster about ENS than anything else would have, because everyone heard about the token. They're like, what's this? They go and check it out, and then they say, oh, okay, I can get my own .eth name, and they went and did that. Now, there's obviously some in there that thought that if they registered a .eth name, they would get tokens. I don't know how many of those there would be, but definitely there'd be some, or a lot of them, that would have just kind of like heard about ENS for the first time and gone and registered their own .eth name, which is really awesome to see. And that's why you see the spike here of $719,000 of fees going of kind of like ENS name fees going to the ENS Treasury over the last 24 hours. And speaking of the ENS Treasury, it is huge. So you can see here that the total amount of dollars in that treasury is almost $5 billion. Most of it sits in the ENS token, which is mostly unvested. Some of it is vested already. I think there's like $340 million of that ENS is vested already. And then other is 48 million. I think other is ETH in the treasury as well. So I mean, I am really happy to see this, and I hope it doesn't... okay, it's kind of like a double-edged sword here. I'm really happy to see that the treasury is like really large, but at the same time, I don't want it to turn into kind of like the uni treasury, where it's so big, and it just doesn't seem to be being used at all, really. And I know that there's been some kind of like talk about, can this really be considered kind of like a treasury asset because it's a native token? I mean, probably not, but at the same time, it is money that is there, and it is money that could be, it is ENS tokens, they are uni tokens that could be sold into the market or just paid out to people who could sell them and get kind of like whatever they wanted out of it, like ETH or dollars or whatever. But what I'm really excited about when it comes to ENS and even other ones like Gitcoin that have a large treasury as well, 645 million, but really any project, but really that kind of the core public goods projects like ENS and Gitcoin is that they do a lot of really awesome kind of like, donation initiatives, funding public goods, funding core devs, stuff like that. Stuff that I've been talking about a lot lately, and ENS falls right into that. So I'm very curious to see how this goes and kind of like what people what the delegates decide to do with the ENS treasury. And I claimed my ENS tokens today, and I actually delegated to SuperFizz, who's a long-time Ethereum community member and is very involved in the ETH staking community, and he's a good friend of mine as well. So I just delegated my tokens from Sassel.eth to him. So if you're looking for someone to delegate to as well, still, you could delegate to him, but don't just take my word for it. Definitely look up all the other delegates as well, because they're going to be responsible for essentially managing this treasury and paying out to specific people or specific projects or initiatives. So I'm very curious to see kind of like what happens there with that treasury. But yeah, I think I already went over this tweet from Brantley here. In a related kind of topic, Spruce announced today that they've got their first example of signing with Ethereum now live at login.xyz. Now, I have spoken about this a few times on the Refuel before, but you can go to the website here, login.xyz, and I've already got it up. You have to scroll down a bit to get to it, but I already kind of logged in before with my Sassel.eth kind of account here, and you can see that Sassel.eth has this kind of NFT connected to it, because you can now actually make, there's a field on the ENS kind of like manager app for your Sassel.eth or for your ENS name, where you can actually tie your NFT to your ENS name as a profile picture, which is obviously really awesome. And then you're presented with this poll to vote on the kind of like unicorn emoji or the rainbow emoji. I voted for the unicorn emoji, and all I had to do was basically the sign-in flow was basically. I can show you what the sign-in flow is. If I click sign out here, I won't be able to do it again, but essentially you click sign in with Ethereum. It comes up with what wallet you want. I selected MetaMask. And then from there, I went and signed a transaction. And the reason why I can't do it now is because I don't have my ledger with me to sign the transaction. But I signed the transaction, and then it kind of logged me in. Now,
what I find, I mean, there's a couple of things that I find really amazing about the sign in with Ethereum kind of initiative and movement. The first thing is the fact that I'm able to sign in without any kind of like username or password. I'm just using my Ethereum wallet, which is a public-private key pair, and I control it all client side. There's no server-side stuff going on there. That's the first thing. The second thing is that having sign in with Ethereum across like every website is going to be amazing for Ethereum. And just to give you an example of kind of something that's happened in the past that I guess kickstarted a brand or basically led to a lot of growth for a brand is this sign in with Facebook button. There's actually a funny story that, and I think this story is true. If not, it's still a cool story. But essentially, Mark Zuckerberg asked Bill Gates like how to make Facebook ubiquitous across the web. And Bill Gates basically told him, well, why not have a sign in with Facebook button on all different websites? Because you already have people sign up for a Facebook account. It's kind of like their identity. So why not have this login with Facebook button across everywhere, so it, people can easily log into these other websites, and by embedding that button into these websites, people also there's also brand awareness there as well. And I think that the same thing is going to play out with Ethereum. Could you imagine the sign in with Ethereum button on all these websites? The brand awareness would be insane, and even people that don't have wallets, it'll pop up like with what wallet you want to sign in with, and then people can go and create a wallet, and you'll just have this mass onboarding going on. And that sign in with Facebook button or log in with Facebook was a very, very big driver of Facebook's early growth. It kind of like led to them becoming, as Mark wanted, ubiquitous across the web. And that's exactly what we can do with sign in with Ethereum. But the really powerful thing about sign in with Ethereum is that not only do you get to sign in just like you would normally to a website, but it also allows you to sign into the on-chain Ethereum ecosystem, where essentially you not only have kind of like the information layer that you're normally kind of interacting with, but you have the value layer now, which is Ethereum. So you have one kind of like set of, I guess, credentials you can call them, or one kind of like set of public-private key pairs that allow you to do everything. And this is really what Web3 is all about at the end of the day. It's allowing you to basically do everything with just kind of like your Ethereum wallet. You don't have to change wallets, you don't have to change accounts, because right now I can't log into my bank with with my Facebook account, for example. I don't have a Facebook account. Oh, I think I do. It reactivates itself sometimes. It's weird, but it's Twitter, for example. I can't log into my bank account with my Twitter account, and I don't even know if I'd want to do that, and vice versa. But having kind of like that global settlement layer as Ethereum, and then having kind of like a sign in with Ethereum button on the classical Web 2 websites, I can basically sign in. Imagine being able to sign in to Twitter, to Discord, to all these other social apps using your Ethereum wallet, and then just kind of like having that wallet be ubiquitous across both Web 2 and Web 3. That is the promise of this. That's why I'm so excited about signing with Ethereum, and it's just really cool. They have a little demo here, so definitely go check it out for yourself. You can go to login.xyz, just scroll down a little bit and try it out. I mean, it's a very basic demo, but it's still cool to see it in practice there. And if you want to make your profile picture for your ENS be one of your NFTs, I think there's a guide for that. You can probably Google for it, but essentially, no, there definitely is a guide. So just go like ENS NFT profile picture on Google, and it should come up. And then it kind of walks you through how to do it. It is a little bit like, it's not dead simple right now, but I think in the future they want to do like a one-click thing. But it's not that hard. It's kind of like copying, pasting a few things. It's very easy. At least it was easy for me. Maybe it's not for other people, but it wasn't that difficult. All right, so zkSync announced another kind of fiat on-ramp, off-ramp to their layer 2 network. So Bybit, which is a very, very popular perpetuals exchange, and BitDAO, which I don't really know much about BitDAO, but I guess like it's another onboarding vehicle into a fiat onboarding vehicle into zkSync and offboarding. I was talking the other day when zkSync did their raise that they raised from the right ecosystem strategic partners, because now that they have those strategic partners as part of kind of like their cap table, they're going to go out and get zkSync integrated everywhere. And that's exactly what happened here. Marana Ventures, which is the venture partner of Bybit and BitDAO, invested in zkSync in that round. So they basically have quite literally a vested interest in seeing zkSync succeed. So they've gone, okay, well, we're going to do a fiat on and off ramp to zkSync. Now, in saying that, there's not much to do right now on zkSync, as you guys know. You can do Gitcoin donations. You can play around with Curve on testnet. There's a few NFT things to do, but it's more like getting all this kind of plumbing in place for when the kind of ZK Porter and ZK EVM goes live with zkSync and zkSync 2.0 and all that good stuff there, so that it's ready and able to kind of like get that adoption like off the bat, right? We don't have to wait for that. So super exciting to see this. We need more of this, as I've said every time. More and more of this, more L2 supported. It's coming. I just hope that this kind of like kicks these exchanges and fiat on-ramps into gear and gets them kind of like supporting more of these sooner rather than later. All right, so a tweet here from Scott Lewis today where he said, Ethereum needs Polygon just as much as Polygon needs Ethereum. If that bothers you, get over it. Now, I have had this kind of like discussion with so many people over the last, I guess, 11 months now, almost 11 months since I joined Polygon as an advisor, 10 or 11 months. Where they keep asking me, it's like, what does Polygon add to Ethereum? Like, what is the main value add here? Is it kind of like a pressure release valve for Ethereum on the Polygon POS chain? Like, when are they going to have their L2s coming? What is the actual value prop and value add of Polygon to Ethereum? Because a lot of people think that Polygon is kind of like a separate ecosystem or a separate L1 to Ethereum. And I kind of like, I can sympathize with why people think that because it is a bit nuanced, but I've explained before, so I'm not going to rehash it here. But essentially what the Polygon POS chain is it's a hybrid kind of like commit side chain where it relies on Ethereum for its for itself to exist, because if Ethereum went down, Polygon's POS chain would also go down. But it has its own validator set, and it also has like a bridge across that is a kind of like multi-sig bridge. So there are kind of like centralized points of failure, of course. But the way I saw the Polygon POS chain and the way I still see it is that it's a friendly kind of like a place for Ethereans to go that obviously, can't afford the layer 1 gas fees because they're ludicrous, go to the Polygon POS chain and still enjoy a Ethereum DeFi experience with much cheaper fees. And yes, it's less secure, yes, it's less decentralized, but for these people who maybe just playing around for the first time and only have like $100, $200 or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine for them. And they're not going to be able to use Ethereum layer 1 anyway. So instead of them going to one of these other kind of like hostile chains like BSC or something like that, getting them onto the Polygon POS chain is a net benefit for Ethereum. And on top of that, Polygon is not just the POS chain. They're building layer 2s as well. They've got Polygon Hermez, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, which is live. They've got EY Nightfall, which is kind of a hybrid between a hybrid optimistic ZK rollup. They've got, they're doing like app-specific chains, all that sort of stuff. They've got Polygon Avail, which is a data availability layer. They have other things in the pipeline. I mean, there's just so much going on in the Polygon ecosystem that for people to say that they're kind of like not consequential for Ethereum or that Ethereum doesn't need them, I don't like that framing at all. And obviously, I mean, as an advisor, my opinions, could be biased here. But the reason I'm an advisor is because I saw this coming. Like I saw it coming when the fees went up. I wrote about this in my newsletter in like June of last year. Where I said that I think the high fees are bullish for Ethereum, but I also think that they're going to cause people to go to other chains because of it. And the reason I said it was bullish because, I mean, there was a number of reasons, but the number one reason was that I figured it would push layer 2s to launch quicker. And I think they have. I mean, it's still taken longer than we would like, but I think they've launched quicker than they normally would have. And there's been more innovation there because of the high fees, because no one cares about layer 2s if the fees are cheap, right? Like, why would you build the layer 2? The fees are cheap, so there's less money and less research goes into it. There's less of a pressing need. So I called this a long time ago, and that's when I saw the Polygon POS chain, I was like, okay, I understand what this is. It is not a quote unquote true layer 2, but there's going to be these other EVM chains that spin up and they're going to suck users and liquidity out of Ethereum. And I'd rather keep them in the Ethereum family, obviously. So yeah, I totally agree with Scott here that Polygon and Ethereum are in a symbiotic relationship. It is not parasitic either way. They both benefit each other. And I would say that Polygon has probably net benefit Ethereum more because of the fact that the POS chain allows for overflow, right? Like kind of this overflow from users that are priced out of layer 1 Ethereum just to experience this sort of stuff. And then, long term, the POS chain may just kind of like become a rollup, or maybe everyone just migrates to a Polygon rollup, such as Polygon Hermez. That could happen as well. And, I think the Polygon team expects that to happen over the long term. But in the short to medium term, when the layer 2s aren't where we want them to be and the rollups aren't ready, the POS chain is perfect, and that's why I've always supported it. So hopefully that gives a bit of extra color from my view there. But I thought this was a great tweet from Scott, just basically putting it in very simple words here that I guess I just expanded on. And I guess one more thing about Polygon, they had a Hermez update where they basically had a fireside chat the other day with leading lights in the ZK space. So the TLDR is that Hermez is working very hard on ZK EVM, which is a EVM-compatible ZK rollup. I think they said in the blog post that they're expecting to go live with a testnet of this next year. I think in the kind of like Q1, Q2 of next year. And then once the testnet proves itself, go to mainnet. So I remember warning you guys that the generalized EVM ZK rollups are still further away than you think they will. What Starkware is launching this month, Starknet, that's not an EVM compatible rollup. That's their own thing using Cairo, using StarkX. That is not EVM compatible. The EVM compatible ones are coming. There's like 4 teams working on them right now. I'm pretty sure Starkware is working on some sort of solution, but you have Polygon with Hermez, you have Scroll Tech, which is basically I think either an arm of the Ethereum Foundation or works closely with them. And then of course you have zkSync working on it as well. So it's all being worked on, but it is still kind of like a little further away, and we probably won't have a mainnet EVM compatible ZK rollup until I would say Q3, Q4 next year, which is fine because we have optimistic rollups, and we're nowhere near the scale that, we're nowhere near the limits of the scaling of optimistic rollups, let alone ZK rollups. So that's totally fine. But yeah, awesome to see an update about Polygon Hermez here. So speaking of optimistic rollups, I've been talking about Optimism's 2.0 upgrade that is going live right now. So this was kind of like a tweet posted earlier in the day, but I think the network, I think it's happening right now or very, very soon. And the network is expected to be down for around 6 hours. But then after that, the OVM 2.0 upgrade is live. They have glorious EVM equivalents and and performance improvements, including, I think, cheaper fees as well. So super excited to see this. As I've been saying for a few weeks now, I really hope this, or a few months, I guess, I really hope that this means that the whitelist is coming off soon. Like, the number one thing holding back Optimism right now is that whitelist. If they remove that after they do their upgrade, which I think they will, I just hope it's sooner rather than later, then the floodgates open. And then when these networks do tokens, the floodgates open even more. And we're really going to see the power of these L2s. So very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to using OVM 2.0 and seeing how much cheaper the fees are as well. Because, the roll-up fees are cheaper than L1, but they're not as cheap as we can get them to. So I'm very, very excited to see how that's going to play out. So speaking of L2, and I did talk about this the other day, but it was just a teaser. Yesterday, Chris from the MakerDAO team detailed how their layer 2 or Maker kind of like wormhole was going to work. And this is basically cross-chain DAI between different L2s. And, these L2s, as I explained the other day, Optimism, Hermez, zkSync, Starknet, Arbitrum, and Fuel, the true kind of like roll-ups on Ethereum. So in this tweet thread and in this post, Chris details how it all works. Not going to go over it on the Refuel, but essentially, it's actually a true kind of like bridge where it burns DAI on one chain, or they're calling it a domain here, and then uses an oracle to provide an attestation of the burn. It uses Maker oracles to do this, and then mints fresh DAI on domain B, or kind of like another chain here. So this is actually trying to be a true bridge where it's not just locked in a contract, it's burned, and the only provenance you have is on another chain. So you can't actually go back. So you can go back, but it's not like if that kind of if that DAI was stolen on Optimism, or if something happened to that DAI on Optimism, it can't, because it literally doesn't exist anymore. If you bridge from Optimism to Arbitrum, from what I understand, that DAI no longer exists on Optimism. It only exists on Arbitrum. Whereas with a lot of the other bridges, especially the multi-sig based ones, it's all about where the native asset actually sits, and as I've explained before. So this is really cool, because this is just taking bridging to another level where it becomes an actual bridge instead of a kind of like pseudo bridge or whatever you want to call it. So definitely give this a read and give the blog post a read for further details on this. I'm super excited about cross-chain DAI. I've been getting more and more excited about DAI again lately, especially because the USDC backing DAI is coming down again, and more ETH is backing it, so it's becoming more decentralized again. And the Maker team is just knocking it out of the park with integrations and new features. I mean, they have their peg stability module, They have one-to-one swaps between stable coins. They have a lot of cool stuff happening right now within their ecosystem. So very, very excited to see that. And also super pumped to see this cross-chain DAI stuff go live. And, we can probably have true bridges, right? Like none of these pseudo bridges, true bridges, which I'm definitely very much looking forward to. All right, so as I mentioned the other day, Arrow Glacier is the next Ethereum network upgrade. It is going live on December 8th. There is an official announcement blog post now from Tim Byko where he upgrades us all to, reminds us all to upgrade our nodes. In this blog post, it goes through what Arrow Glacier is, and I've explained before, it's just pushing back the difficulty bomb, but it also has links to all the different client versions for the ETH1/execution clients. So if you're running a full node, which you all should be if you can, definitely download the latest version so that you're ready for this network upgrade. This is on December 8th, so less than a month away from today. So don't dawdle, because obviously if you're not upgraded, when the hard fork happens, you will kind of like go on the minority chain. And you won't lose anything because this isn't staking, whatever, but your node will just basically be useless. So if you're using your node for anything, it won't work anymore. For example, if you've got your MetaMask connected to your own full node, if you end up on the wrong chain, nothing's going to happen, especially if it's a dead chain where no one's mining it anymore. So yeah, definitely need to kind of like keep that under consideration. All right, so finally here, we have an awesome blog post that was posted in Bankless's newsletter by Trend Van Epps called titled Ethereum Roadmap Update End of 2021. Now, this blog post, this is required reading for any Ethereum. If you want to know what Ethereum's roadmap looks like for, I guess, like the next maybe 12 to 18 months-ish, this is the kind of like blog post to read. And, a lot of this stuff I've already talked about on the refill, of course, and I've kept you guys up to date with all of this, but this kind of like brings it all together, puts kind of like dates against, not hard dates, sorry, like soft dates against it. And there's a bunch of links in here that you can kind of click on to read more about all of these different roadmap items and things like that. But yeah, just a great piece to read. Trent from he works at the Ethereum Foundation as part of the ecosystem team. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to Ethereum roadmap. He's across all of this sort of stuff. He's basically my go-to guy for a lot of this stuff as well. And if I'm ever confused about the roadmap or timelines or anything like that, so yeah, I loved reading this. It kind of like got even me excited about what's happening with Ethereum and the roadmap. But even though I kind of like already knew all the items on here, it's just like a nice, concise and detailed kind of blog post here. So definitely go check that out. One other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with regards to the Ethereum roadmap is timelines. Now, when it comes to timelines in Ethereum at the core protocol layer, it's historically been, there'll be a kind of like window of time given, but like we'll always overshoot that. So you can use proof of stake as like the clear example here. People thought proof of stake was going to go live in 2017. It didn't go live until December 1st, 2020, and it's technically not live because we still have like proof of work, right? The merge will be Q2 2022. So it'll have been like 4 or 5 years since people expected it to go live. Now, I'm not saying that the merge is going to be delayed by that long or there's going to be a delay there. I'm not saying that sharding is going to take till like 2026. I'm not saying that statelessness is going to take that long or any of these roadmap items. Core development today is actually a really well-oiled machine, and it has a lot more eyeballs on it at both like the dev and research level. But it's just, whenever dates are given or like windows of time are given, you really need to kind of like take it with maybe not a grain of salt, but like if it gets pushed back, don't be surprised, really. And they do it for good reason. It's not like they're just delaying it because they want to. It's normally for a security reason. And you can see here, like Trent says the merge is, 5 to 8 months. So he's put like a massive window here, but it could happen longer than 8 months from now. There could be some critical kind of issue that gets found out and the developers and the researchers aren't comfortable with doing the merge. And, to be honest, I'm happy that if that happens, because the merge is the biggest upgrade in Ethereum's history. If it goes wrong, it's really, really bad. So we only have one shot at getting it right. Technically we have multiple shots at getting it right, but like if we don't get it right the first time, I've gone through what can happen before. I've talked about how like it could be catastrophic and there's a lot of kind of social coordination that needs to happen. It would just overall be really a really shitty time for everyone. So we want to get it right the first time. We want to just do it smoothly. And if that takes longer than what's anticipated, if we have to wait until Q3 or even Q4, which, again, don't quote me on any of this, and this is not me saying we're going to have to wait till then, but if we did, for whatever reason, I personally wouldn't be upset about it, and I don't think anyone else should be. I know that the wider kind of like
talking heads on Twitter. Some people will FUD it. Some people will say, oh, there's another delay, blah, blah. But there's actually been no official timeline given. I've given Q2 as my own personal kind of like window of time. But if we get to like Q1 and I don't feel like it's going to happen in Q2, I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say, well, look, guys, I personally I can't see this happening in Q2. It's probably going to be Q3. But if I see it happening sooner, I'll also inform you guys. But like rarely, if ever, is it going to ever happen sooner than what people anticipate. But just, when you think about it from that perspective, it's good just to kind of like stay humble. Don't get ahead of yourself. This is all a long-term game. If you're in Ethereum for the long term like I am, this is all noise at the end of the day, right? Like I've been in Ethereum since 2017. I plan to spend the rest of my life in this ecosystem. So for me, this is just noise. Even if I have to wait another 5 years to see sharding and statelessness as well, I'm fine with that. Yes, I'd love for it to happen sooner, and it actually needs to happen sooner for other reasons, like the competitors kind of like, getting ahead if Ethereum takes too long to scale, things like that. But more generally, I'm okay with things taking a while if it's done for the right reasons, such as security and making sure we've got everything right, and there's no bugs and things like that. So, but the wrong reason is that, for some reason we got lazy, we didn't do it right, the coordination kind of messed up, or whatever other reason there. So yeah, hopefully that's a bit of extra color on how I think about timelines when it comes to the Ethereum roadmap. But I'm sure for those of you who have been around for quite a while, you know exactly what that's like and how there can be delays on things, and how, people can kind of come up with their own dates. And then if there's kind of like another date given, they're like, oh, this is a delay. But in reality, there was never an actual date given. There was never actually a date decided on. It was just kind of the community getting ahead of themselves. So yeah, anyway, on that note, I'm going to leave it at that for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.